Hey guys, Everyday Knife Guy here, and today we're going to be taking a look at a blade that's a little bit funky, a little bit different. Oops. Certainly very sharp and very slicey. This is the CRKT Fossil. This is the smaller version, 3.4 inch blade. There's a larger one that's around 4-inch blade, and I picked this up just recently. It's kind of a bit different from my usual style. It's a little bit of an arty, funky, out there kind of design. I'm usually more into clean lines, but definitely like the look of this. Partly the blade shape was what caught my eye. I think that's a beautiful blade. Lovely drop point design, nice belly on it. Lovely horizontal satin on the flat there, and the vertical on the hollow grind. Very nice blade. Not so sure about the shape of the thumb hole opening there, but you can certainly see there's definitely a dinosaur influence here. Flavio Ikoma, of course, the designer of this, he's known for his slightly eccentric production knife designs, but certainly makes some lovely flippers too. This has the Ikoma Fossil bearing system in it, which I already know and love from my Ripple, which is another one of his designs, I believe. So I kind of knew what I was getting into in that sense. So yeah, there's the overall form of it. It's the blade itself is 8 CR13 MOV, I believe. And the handle, I think, is 2 CR13, and it has this G10 overlay, which you can see is kind of just screwed onto the top of the hammered steel handle. Quite an interesting design. Initially you'd think it's a frame lock, but actually, if you look at it from this angle, you can see it is, sorry, initially you'd think it's a liner lock, but it's actually a frame lock, because the steel part of the handle actually creates a lock there, and the G10 is just kind of bolted on the top. So not too sure if I like that or not. It's a bit of an interesting design. I think that's similar to how the Kershaw strobe goes together. I saw a review on that recently. It has the kind of this you know, sort of semi-attached plate over the top to hide the frame lock. Not too sure if I like that, but certainly makes for a nice sturdy lock. Good action on that. See if we can see lock up there. My camera will focus. Nope, guess it's not going to. Yeah, lock up is, I guess, about 50% at the moment. Blade centering. Yeah, not too bad. Not an expensive knife. You can pick these up on Amazon.com for about 43 US, I think it is, for the small version. Around 50 for the larger 4-inch blade. And they actually do black, I think it's a TI coated blade that's serrated, and that's just over $50. So not an expensive knife. For having the bearing technology and being a flipper of this style and size. The overall length, let's just check that, clear this stuff out of the way. So you can see it's a really nice slicer. I love that hollow grind on it. Let's grab a tape here. Yeah, overall length is just about 7 3/4 inches. You can see the actual cutting length of the blade there is just shy of 3.5, I guess. So yeah, fairly good sized knife, but not large in pocket. It's quite a slim design. You can see the actual back spacer and the two parts of the stainless steel frame are pretty narrow. The G10 only adds a little bit of thickness. They're well curved slabs of G10, so overall makes a very nice smooth feeling pocket. Makes for nice ergonomics in the hand too. Big finger guard here, forward choil if you like, and yeah, that locks in really nicely in the hand. Very slight rise in the back here with some pretty fine jimping. Almost non-functional jimping, to be honest. It's so fine, but you do feel that under your thumb. Kind of helps you locate where you are, and yeah, that locks in nicely. So it feels really good in the hand. The handle on the smaller size model just fills my hand. Medium-sized hands I have, but you do get a lot of blade combined with that, so pretty good ratio. If you want to move your thumb forward onto here on top of the thumb hole, there's a nice flat surface there for you. Quite a good blade stock on it. I think it's 0.11, I'm not sure. But very sharp edges on the top here, so I can actually feel the edges of that digging into my thumb there, just something to note. Other negatives on the knife, I feel also the jimping and the back of the flipper here is really quite sharp, so when you go to take a grip like that, you feel your finger kind of digging in on the edge here is quite sharp. and same on the top point of the lock bar here. But you know, it's just minor stuff and just small fit and finish things that on a knife of this value, I guess, are fair play. So you're kind of paying for the designer's name and the overall form and size and materials of the knife. So just a few little niggles. Design wise, I do like it overall. I think the hammered finish looks pretty cool on the handle here. I like the brown and black textured G10, very fine texture on it. Not so keen on these holes up here. You can see when the knife's closed. You can actually see, well, I don't know if you'll be able to see with light in here, but you can actually see, yeah, you can see there the blade inside. And as that opens up, you should see those open and close. There you go. So yeah, not too sure if I like that feature, but you know, it is what it is. It's just it's not a huge thing. One thing I really don't like is the pocket clip. Now, it's a bit of a wacky design for starters, looking top down. And if you turn that sideways, it doesn't really get any better. It's got two big standoffs here that it's kind of bolted onto the top of. I can see why they've done that. I mean, it's a very uneven, rounded off surface to be trying to attach anything to with this sort of proud section of G10, so it's quite a difficult place to put a pocket clip, but it just feels like an awkward design to me. And you can see there's not a lanyard hole per se. There is a small hole in the forward part of the pocket clip which looks like it's designed so you can actually get to this screw in the G10, but I'm not sure if I can show this, but actually it's completely offline. You can see there, so if you were trying to access that screw, you're about half a screw head width off. So that's either just some pretty poor manufacturing or that's just an arbitrary hole, I'm not sure. Anyway, so that's it for the design pretty much. It's fairly weighty. I think it's just over 4 ounces, this model, about 5 for the larger one. Let's close that up. Now, deployment is 2 methods, flipper on the back of course and thumb hole here. So the flipper deployment on those bearings is super smooth, really, really nice. And just flies right out there as if it's assisted. You can do it a number of different ways, and you know, it's such a powerful flip. Usually, yeah, even vertically, it'll actually push that large, quite weighty blade straight up in the air, and that shows you that the design and the kind of the ergonomics of that blade and flipping action are spot on. It really shoots that blade out. So you can see the top part of the back of the blade here. There's a nice little little hook, and that just locks in nicely to that blade stop. So a really solid lock up, even holding onto the tip. It's very, very little side-side play, almost none. Up and down, absolutely zero, rock solid. So pretty pleased with that. Second deployment method, of course, by the thumb hole here. Now this takes a bit of getting used to. I found that if you try and deploy at the top here, it's pretty hard to break the detent. If you manage to get your thumb down in the bottom narrower part of the hole here, usually, I'm saying that I can't do it this time. Yeah, it's just the detent just seems too strong to make that thumb hole a practical opener. You can see there you have to really fight with it, and it's such a shame because the flipper is so nice. It'd be good if maybe they'd gone with a thumb stud or something, but in this particular case, I mean, I'm a fan of the Spidey hole, but in this particular case I just find it's just too tough. So maybe over time that detent will slacken off, or I could take off the G10 and reduce the tension on that lock bar maybe, but for now it's pretty much a flipper only for me. So let's just take another look over it. You see the G10 there, really quite nice variation in color. And take a look at that blade again. It's a bit of a fingerprint magnet. Let me just get that clean off. Yeah, they do it's kind of like a dark gunmetal. It says a black coated, but it looks almost like a dark gunmetal grey coated version, which is actually really nice. But it has some veft sort of stretched out serrations on the back here, and they look really cool. I mean, they just add to that whole dinosaur kind of look to it. But it's you know, I'm not a huge serrations fan, so I'll probably steer away from that. Might pick up the larger version at some point because I do like the design overall. I like the flipping action. It's a really nice slicer. I've been using it for a bit of food prep, and really good for that. You can see there, this is the 5460. The 5470 I believe is the larger one, and I think the 71 is the larger one with the serrations. So those are the three models. I think that's about all there is to say about it, guys. It's just a decent budget blade, very interesting design, definitely a talking piece for non-knife people. If you want to pull this out in public, you'll certainly get some looks. So yeah, that's my take on it, and thanks as always for watching. I'll see you in the next video.